Welcome to How Motorcycles Work Part 1. I'm your host, Dr. Will, and this is Motorcycle Medicine. Let me just start by saying that if you know a lot about motorcycles already, this video is not likely to teach you anything. I'm intentionally starting this series out by assuming you have no previous knowledge or experience. As a result, the first few videos in this series are going to be extremely basic. Keep that in mind. My goal is to teach you about all of the parts you'll encounter on a motorcycle, what they're called, and how they work. We'll start with the most basic high-level concepts and gradually drill down to the more complicated ones. Some of the explanations I will use will be simplified to make it easier to understand. Getting technical will come later. I also want to remind you that anyone can learn how motorcycles work, how to fix them, and how to ride them. I don't care if you're a 4-foot-tall, 90-pound woman, you can do it. Don't be afraid, and don't let anyone tell you you can't do this. I'm going to show you how. Be sure to check out my website for a written version of this presentation, additional resources, and other information. The link is in the description below. Part 1 of How Motorcycles Work is concerned with identifying the most basic parts of a motorcycle and understanding what their purpose is. Let's get started. Here's your motorcycle. Take a look at all the parts. It might look rather complicated right now, but once you learn what all of these pieces are called and what they do, you'll be on your way to riding and repairing in no time. The bike in the picture is called a UJM, or Universal Japanese Motorcycle. You could also classify it as a standard, as opposed to a sport or cruiser. In a future article, I'll talk about the different types of motorcycles and what the pros and cons of each style are. The different styles of motorcycles are classified based on their shape and purpose. This is the gas tank. It's filled with, you guessed it, gasoline. Gasoline is combined with air and burned by the engine. Gas tanks have several smaller and less obvious parts as well. There's a gas cap, which generally requires a key to open. A vent in the gas tank is also required to prevent a vacuum from being formed as the fuel is withdrawn and used up. Newer and larger motorcycles might have a fuel pump. Other less obvious components include a vacuum hose, fuel petcocks, and valves used to turn the gasoline flow on and off for service. This section of the bike is often referred to as the tail of the motorcycle. This area contains the seat, the rear brake light, turn signals, and license plate mount. Some motorcycles have metal grab bars for passengers to hold onto, backrests, and even luggage racks. The seat often needs to be removed to access typical electrical parts, including a battery or a fuse box. Removing the seat always requires a key, and finding the lock can occasionally be difficult. One of the most intimidating areas to learn about is the circled area here, the engine. The engine is fed with gasoline and air. The engine uses the fuel as a source of energy to move. The movement of the engine is used to drive a chain, shaft, or belt. The chain, shaft, or belt is used to turn the rear wheel and make the motorcycle go. These are the wheels, both front and rear. There are some differences between the two. The front wheel is used for steering while the rear wheel drives the motorcycle. Both wheels have at least one brake, with a few exceptions. The rear wheel is connected to the engine, mentioned above. Don't worry too much about the brakes yet, just know that they are associated with the wheels. Finally, we can't forget about the tires. You may have noticed the front tire is smaller than the rear tire. We'll get into that later. The region circled here includes a great many parts that will require an entire separate video to cover. For now, I just want you to know it includes a headlight, some front turn signals, the gauge cluster, the steering stem. The gauge cluster is similar to the dashboard in a car. All street motorcycles, not dirt bikes, come with a speedometer indicating road speed in miles per hour or kilometers per hour. Many, but not all, also include a tachometer to indicate engine speed in RPMs or revolutions per minute. The steering stem is a part of the motorcycle that allows the front wheel to turn left and right using the handlebars. This area includes the handlebars, which are used for steering, rear view mirrors for seeing behind you, and all of the necessary hand controls. Some examples of hand controls include a brake lever, a clutch lever, an electric start button, which starts the engine, a kill switch, which stops the engine, and more, which we'll cover in detail later. Starting a motorcycle often requires several more steps compared to a car. The average person would not be able to figure out how to start a real race car because of all the extra steps involved, but if you're familiar with motorcycles, you could probably figure it out. There are actually a lot of similarities. The little area here is called a side cover. These pieces of removable plastic or metal are often used to cover up electrical components or engine air filters. Sometimes they are purely cosmetic and other times they are functional. They are also frequently lost in older motorcycles. I've seen motorcycles that require a key to remove these covers and others that simply pop off by pulling them. Other things you might find behind these covers include extra storage or spare electrical parts and fuses. One of the more obvious areas, the muffler, is used to quiet the engine. You might not know yet that mufflers also provide what is called back pressure. We're not going to cover back pressure right now, but just know that mufflers do more than just quiet the motorcycle down. The metal pipes can also get extremely hot based on the type of material they're made of. A common injury, especially for passengers not wearing pants, is a severe burn on the ankle from a hot muffler. Aftermarket mufflers, not from the original manufacturer, are more likely to be made from aluminum or carbon fiber. These materials don't get nearly as hot compared to the original heavy steel units that come from the factory. This area is called the header, or headers if there's more than one. Right now, I just want you to know what these are called and that they connect the engine to the muffler. Headers allow hot gases to exit the engine and pass out through the muffler. These also get extremely hot, even hotter than the muffler. These can burn the crap out of you in mere seconds after the motorcycle is started. Don't touch them. The forks and rear shocks are circled in this picture. The forks on the front of the motorcycle are involved in suspension and steering. The forks connect the front wheel to the handlebars. There are more parts involved, but we aren't going to worry about them just yet. The rear shocks are just responsible for suspension. Suspension in general is responsible for absorbing bumps in the road and making sure the tires stay in contact with the road. These two pieces of metal that are circled are the front and rear fenders. Sometimes they are made of plastic or more exotic materials. The purpose of the fenders is to prevent rocks, debris, and water from hitting the rider and the engine. The front fender on some motorcycles, especially sturdy metal ones, can act as a brace for the forks, improving handling. It is common for people to remove the fenders or chop them up for looks. This is a very important part of the motorcycle and one that also scares a lot of people, the carburetors or carbs. Carbs control how much gas and air is fed into the engine. The amount of air and gas required by the engine changes based on the engine speed. You might remember the term engine speed from one of the previous slides where I talked about a tachometer. Not all motorcycles have carburetors. Many have fuel injectors instead, but their function is essentially the same. Fuel injectors are controlled by a computer, whereas carbs are controlled by the air flowing through them or a cable that pulls on them. We'll talk a lot more about these later. And there you have it. You now know what the most basic parts of a motorcycle are called and generally what they do. Stay tuned for episode 2, but in the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. Don't forget to check out my website for a written version of this presentation, additional resources, and other information. The link is in the description below. Are you ready for the question of the day? You better be. Here goes. What make, model, and year is the motorcycle I've been showing in this video? If you know the answer, post that in the comments below. Remember to ride safe and stay frosty out there. I'll see you next time. This is Motorcycle Medicine. Whew, these lights are super duper hot. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Oh my god, I butchered that.